This is the Aftermarket Radio Network.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Auto Repair Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Walker, and today my guest is Mauro Stara, and I will introduce him more thoroughly in a minute. We're going to be talking about this idea that your body is your business card. But first, I want to thank our sponsors. Thank you to our friends at RepairPal for this episode. RepairPal will introduce your shop to new customers through RepairPal.com, the largest site for auto repair. Learn more at RepairPal.com/shops. And are you ready to convert clients to members? AppFueled specializes in creating custom apps tailored specifically for auto repair businesses. Build client loyalty. Get started today with your own customer loyalty app. Visit appfueled.com. Well, hey, Mauro, thank you for being here with us today.
Absolutely, Brian. Thank you very much for having me on.
We're doing this live in our Facebook group, the Auto Repair Marketing Mastermind, but this is also an episode of the Auto Repair Marketing Podcast. I'm excited to have you with us today. I've been working with you for a little bit over a year now, and have gotten to learn some of your methodologies and seen some of the just insane transformations that people have when they work with you. And I know there's a lot of people that are listening that can learn a lot from you. So I want to start with this idea that your body is your business card. It's something that I've seen you, put out there before, and I believe it and have seen the results, of it already after working, for a year on changing some things. But tell us a little bit about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, there's this notion that if we look back the last 10, 15 years, people got a lot more sensitive. There's a lot more snowflakes out there. And you always hear the idea that you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. While that may be true, that, hey, just because the cover doesn't look appealing or it's not the best cover, what is in the book may be very attractive and of a lot of value. And that can absolutely be true. You can have a horrible cover to a book, had a headline, but the content in that book can be world class. But at the end of the day, if you walk, not on Amazon, on Amazon while you're looking for books, but, let's go back 20, 30 years. You walk into a bookstore and you skim through the headlines, the covers. You won't have time to read the back or a few of the first pages of the book. So ultimately, that cover is going to matter, especially on a subconscious level where we know that you have like 7 seconds to make your first impression. So if we bring this concept to today's world where we're in meetings, we're in a flight, on vacation, like we get judged all the time. I get judged right now. People are going to say like, why does he have this mic and not headphones? And why is his haircut? And why, is his face and his nose? Like there's all sorts of things. Why does Brian have good behind here, right? And so on. Like there's like all these micro judgments, micro decisions that we make. And how you look is one of them. And so when it comes to business, a lot of times we see men, and I've used to be one of them. So I've walked in those shoes, but we see a lot of, especially men, but also women, that they chase wealth, the sacrifice of their health, or at the expense of their health. And they think, hey, once I made it, once I got to a certain point, to a certain milestone, which, to be honest, never arrives, right? Like, what does made it mean? You make this amount of money. Oh, now I've hit that 7-figure mark, that 500 grand mark, whatever mark you want to hit. And then I got to buy a new business. I got to start a new business. I got to hire someone. So like the goalpost gets always moved, that unless we make it a priority consistently, it's not going to change, right? But again, going back to that idea, we push it forward because we think like, oh, I'm invincible. I got this and I can succeed in business first and then, take care of my health. But the reality is they go both hand in hand, and your health, your body will amplify your business. And so the whole idea of, your first line that you gave here, that your body is your business card, is, again, you walk into a meeting, you're in a Zoom call, you film an ad, like whatever it is, people will always see you in a certain shape. And if you're out of shape, if you're overweight, obese, right, then I need to trust you to do business with you. And if I see, hey, that person doesn't really take that good care of themselves, the amount of trust I have that you're going to take good care of me is going to be lower. Again, it may not be true, right? And I truly believe that there are some guys that truly dominate in business and their health is not great. But if those guys would turn around, they would have even more trust. And there may be the guy that looks great, right? Amazing physique and is horrible in business. But because of that first impression, he may get that client that you should have gotten. And so I believe that everyone would put themselves in the best spot possible if they take good care of themselves. And again, that means trust. It means I'm disciplined. I can work hard because, hey, shit hits the fan. I'm going to be here for you. I'm going to take care of you because, look, I take care of myself. I've got the discipline to do the hard things, even when I don't feel like it. That's what your body represents and speaks to on a discipline trust level. And then in marketing, right, you're in a Zoom call, you're not shirtless. Nobody sees if you have a six-pack or not, or if you have a big bicep, but they will see your face. Does that person have a double chin, bubble face? How's the skin? Does that person have all pimples because of the acne or because of the poor diet that they eat? A lot of inflammation, all red over the face? Or it's like, hey, clean skin, a lot of collagen, good blood flow because of the good diet, good sleep, and good health habits, good hydration status, right? So I can go on and on and on with that, but that's what it means for me, that when you enter a room, when you walk into a meeting, when you're in Zoom, that your body just speaks for you without you saying a word.
You can look around and tell that you don't have to be in incredibly good shape to have success. I mean, you look at people like Donald Trump, Mark Cuban, Bill Gates, they're not in the best shape, but it has been very interesting to me to watch, how some of these successful people are becoming. You take your, people like Jeff Bezos, for example. I mean, he is absolutely ripped. And, look at how, Mark Zuckerberg has changed. It is very interesting to see how much prioritization they're putting on their health now.
Yeah, I believe, in those cases, like Bezos, Zuck, their decision didn't came because they wanted to make more money. Or let's say Zuck was probably pretty healthy before. I believe rather there was this image of, hey, those tech guys, they're billionaires, but they're like nerdy and nobody respects them. Like Mark Zuckerberg, you go back 5 years ago, or even before, 10 years ago, like nobody would respect him. It's like, yeah, he makes a lot of money, but skinny dude and a weird look, looks like an alien a little bit, right? And then nobody would really respect him. And now, like, the respect he has, like from UFC fighters, MMA, those are like the hardest hitters. Like, those are the most badass guys in the planet right now, from the toughest sport, you could argue. And these guys call him in, hug him, take selfies, and respect him. And it's not because he's like super jacked. It's like, hey, he's put in the work. He's wrestling, he's kickboxing, grappling, jiu-jitsu. Like, he's doing all of that. And he's showing, hey, I'm taking good care of myself. And that respect came. I believe it was the same for Bezos, where it's like, yeah, again, another skinny guy from Silicon Valley, or I don't know if he's from there, but another skinny guy, build a massive empire, but nobody really respects him for the man he is. And now all of a sudden, super jacked, looks great, shirtless all the time, or at least in a way you can see his physical shape. And it was this respect there. And the same can be true again in business. I've never said you cannot be successful without your health. Like, look at Warren Buffett, like ultra successful, eats McDonald's and everything, or as you said, Trump. But I believe everyone knows that if they take better care of themselves and don't fuel their brain with fried foods and have inflammation in their brain and nutrient deficiencies, poor gut health, poor sleep, they will do way, way better, and they'll be more respected as a man and as a leader.
So, speaking of those things, when somebody works with you, and, I speak from experience with this, everything starts with this complete metabolic panel. And I've done a couple of these now, and the difference over a year is pretty crazy. So why is it that you start off with a metabolic panel? And then what are some of the common things that you see in these panels, and what are the symptoms that people might see?
So when I first started out, we didn't have blood work. It was just, hey, here's your intake form. Tell me a little bit more about you. All right, give me a few days. I'll put together a plan and come back. And that would have gotten me, or that got me pretty good results with the clients, that I work with or worked with. Some of them are still here today. And eventually I run into issues where someone would track their calories, they would walk, they would work out, like they put in the work. They're not someone that cheats or says, oh, I ate this and then go out and drink. Also, like they would take a picture of their food, send it to me like, hey, I just ate that. And they would like barely drop any weight. And so what we naturally do is, okay, let's increase the activity. Let's walk a little bit more. Let's cut calories a little bit more. 9 out of 10 times it does the job. You create a bigger deficit. They were like these two guys, barely movement happening. And, you start doubting yourself as a coach. Like, man, like you can have 100 clients winning. If one guy is not winning, like you go to bed, it's like, why is that guy not dropping? Like he's putting in the work. Like maybe I'm not made for this. And so there's like the natural self-doubt that kicks in. And of course, that was with me as well. And I got really frustrated because I'm very competitive. I always want to win. I hate losing. And I felt I was losing, right? Like those two guys, they're not dropping and they pay me money. Like I got to find a way, right? So I hired a bunch of doctors and coaches that I knew were really, really good. And they were not really able to help me. They're like, yeah, it's maybe lying to you. It's like, okay, let's say one guy's me, but what about the other guy? Like, are we always going to say like, oh, he's lying? That's why he's not like, he's just not reporting and eating cookies and donuts. I don't believe that, right? So then I found a guy on Instagram that was teaching hormones and metabolism. So I reached out to him, full of desperation. I'm like, hey man, like I got a client, he's not dropping. Like, can you send his labs and everything? He's like, wait. You can't just slide it into my DMs and I'm gonna solve this. And I'm like, look, I'm gonna pay you. Just tell me the price. Doesn't matter. Like, I want to jump on a call with you. Can you walk me through it? And he's like, well, you need to join the program. I don't do one-off consults. How much is the program? All right, I'm going to do it. So I jumped in and he's like, when you join the program, just post in the group and I'll look at those cases. So I posted and he's like, okay, get these and these blood tests done. So I get them done. And he already said like, it's probably this and this and this. So they come back, it's exactly that. I'm like, okay. So they came back. And when you look at the blood work, right, there was just like, everything was normal. And I told him like, look, it's normal. Like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, but normal doesn't mean that it's optimal for fat loss. And that is actually the very, very bottom of normal. So, make those changes and look at this. And I make it and it's like, bam, the client first time gets results. I'm like, that can't be, man. Like just that change, like unbelievable. And it was not a drug or so. It's not like, okay, put them on TRT or take, 5 weight loss pills or, medicine. Now, no. Like there are macro changes, some foods that were eliminated. I think it was 1-2 more things. I have to go back. And it was not like magic that they dropped 10 pounds in a week, but it was like 0.2 that they were losing. And now it's like 0.5, 0.75, 1 pound a week, right? So you can see the multiplication happen. And I was so fascinated by that where I thought like, wait a minute, I was able to get that guy on stock, but what if I'm able to amplify the results of everyone else? Because let's face it, you don't need blood work to lose weight in most cases, unlike there's like really some complex issues. But when you have blood work or to build muscle, but when you have blood work, you see exactly what is going on, what is missing, what is working well, and how can you fix certain deficiencies in vitamins, minerals, suboptimal hormone levels, what diet you respond to best, low carb, high carb, moderate carb, high fat, by what type of fats. And the plan is so customized so that if you're seeing good results, you could see faster and more effective results, meaning more results with less effort or the same effort. And if you're stuck, even more important, because again, potentially help you get unstuck where you see, okay, this and this is missing, or this is just so low or so bad or so high. It needs to be addressed first there. And that's why just the foundation of what we do. So someone comes in as Brian, right? You came in, let's have a look at your labs, see what's going on, right? Because again, if someone is insulin resistant, they can lose weight on a diet high in carbs, but you're the perfect example. You came in pretty insulin resistant, and once you really drop the carbs, you start shredding like crazy. And people say, oh, it's just calories. In some cases, that will work, but in most cases, when you have the right macros, not just calories, and the right diet, you'll see way, way quicker and better results. The living proof of that.
I love talking about sponsors of the podcast who have already worked with and who I've used before. So today, I'm super excited to talk to you about RepairPal, which, if you didn't know, will introduce your shop to new customers through RepairPal.com, the largest site for auto repair, and through the recommendation of their partners like USAA, CarMax, and Consumer Reports. Our shop was in a RepairPal certified network, and it was great for getting new customers who were looking for more than just oil changes. The average RepairPal customer spends over $600 on their first visit. I loved it, especially because we all know that consumers still mistrust repair shops. But the millions of customers that visit RepairPal.com monthly, they trust RepairPal certified shops for their high quality and great service. And there's no fear about being overcharged, so we were able to just focus on the repair. I highly recommend you check them out. It's the way to grow your business. Go to RepairPal.com/shops, get 1 month of service free, and save $150 off certification. Independent auto repair shops, get ready to transform your business with App Fueled. It's time for your professional auto service shop to have its own customer loyalty app. App Fueled will build an app that launches a custom loyalty program for your shop in 30 days or less, fully integrated with your point of sale system. Bring Fortune 500 level customer retention strategies to your business without the Fortune 500 budget. Many shops are enjoying the benefits. Our app engages your customers with a loyalty ladder, enticing them to climb the next rung, coming back more often and spending more each visit, all with your own app. Build loyalty with your customers to your brand and boost your shop's growth. Get your first app in 30 days or less, all without breaking the bank. Ready to start? Let AppFueled take your business to the next level. Go to appfueled.com or meet founder Jeremy Glasgow and book your complimentary app vision session at appfueled.com/Jeremy. That's appfueled.com/Jeremy. It seems like, if somebody just goes to their doctor to get this blood work done, that if they kind of fall within the parameters, anywhere within the parameters, then they're fine and nothing is even said about it. Whereas you're into hormone optimization or just optimizing the blood work across the board. Talk about that a little bit.
So when you go to LabCorp or Quest, which are the two biggest labs in the US, or you can go to any other lab, get blood work done, you get the test back and you have a really broad range. And that range that someone is in is usually the minimal effective dose, so to say, but not the optimal dose, right? What happens is the way they do these averages is they take 120 men or 120 women, they take the averages of those people, and now you're compared in that range. But the issue with that is 79% of the US are overweight or obese. So 4 out of 5 people that go to the doctor and fall into that range are metabolically unhealthy. So you're getting compared to a bunch of people that are unhealthy. Is that the bar you want to get compared to? Or do you want to be compared to top athletes, UFC fighters, actors, CEOs, celebrities, where, hey, this is the range, but you should be actually here or here to feel the best. So we don't want just a minimal effective dose, which is like, hey, as long as you don't fall under this, you're fine. No, we want to see, hey, what is the top? So that's like issue number one. And number two is those ranges get adjusted all the time. If you go back in 2006, total testosterone levels, the upper range was, I have to go back to
1,600.
It was 1,580 or so.
Yeah.
And I know it because you barely see that on Google, but I have like a very old lab test from a client. He sent me like tests from the last 2 decades. I need one 1999 and 2004 and so on. And I remember that 2006 one, that was a very extensive one. It's like, that's insane. And the bottom range was, if I'm not mistaken, 450, 480. And today, the bottom range is 250 to 300, depending on the lab. And the upper range, when I started doing blood work, like just say 3 or 4 years ago, it was 900 something. Some labs even adjusted it down to 700. That's like insane. So imagine 1500 10 years ago, now it's 700. So the upper range and the bottom range was 450. So imagine this. In 2006, your testosterone is 380. Like the doc would say, dude, you're deficient. You got to make a lifestyle change or we're going to put you probably on TRT. Today, you're 380. Oh, you're totally fine. You're normal. So just because someone that sits behind a computer just that range means you're fine, you're normal, So at the same time, numbers are not everything. It's also how someone feels. Meaning, if you're having testosterone, let's say total T 600, and your free T is 15 or 20, and you feel great, high energy, high libido, 5 days a week, you wake up with erections, very competitive, your mental edge, mental drive, mental capacity is good, muscle mass is fine, then that may be, hey, your range, sure, can it be more, but you don't have any symptoms. But once the symptoms kick in and the numbers are low, that's where we have to start to act, right? But without wanting to deviate, like we can't just accept those normal ranges. We have to look through the functional ranges. And those are very different. Usually the rule of thumb there, it's not always like that, but usually, let's say, 75% is where you should be low, you should be lower third. Where you should be high, you should be upper third. That's ballpark, but the best is to have someone look at your labs to the functional range and tell you, hey, here's where we're doing really well, and here's where like okay, but you should be actually much better.
Yeah. And it's funny, I don't mind talking about this stuff. Sometimes people think I'm crazy for talking about it personally, but I'd been overweight, still overweight, working on it, but I'm way better than I have been in the past. But I've been as much as 360 pounds. And, I would say in the latter half of my adult life, I probably averaged being between 285 and 300 pounds, somewhere in there. And, when you're overweight, your testosterone goes down, your estrogen goes up. You're basically turning into a woman if you're, a man that is overweight. My testosterone levels were just under 300. And when I went to the doctor, he looks at it and tells me, yeah, you're within range. I felt like absolute garbage. I was moody. I had no energy at all, just walking around half depressed. And I felt like absolute trash. And there are a lot of the people that I know in the automotive industry. I just, I walk around at the conferences. It's not an industry specific thing. You just go walk around anywhere in America and you see that most men are walking around with some extra weight. Most people in America are walking around with a decent amount of extra weight on them. And they don't realize what that's doing to their hormones, and they don't realize what their hormones are doing to them. And you talk about how your health impacts the way that your business runs. Well, now that I've gotten my, testosterone and so many other things the way that they are supposed to be, the way that I show up, in my business is just completely different than it was, back when I was so out of alignment or whatever you want to say. Now, you are real big on increasing testosterone levels naturally. You're not let's just go straight to TRT. I was on TRT when I came to you, so we stayed with that. But for the people that you work with to do this naturally, like what are some of the things that you do to help optimize those hormone levels, without just going to drugs?
So there's like 5 plus minus 5 pillars we look at when we do the blood work. And once you address those 5 pillars and the needle hasn't moved, then it will make sense to go down the TRT rabbit hole or potentially Clomid. Usually not, but TRT route there. And we give it 6 months, right? We say, hey, if within 6 months there's no improvement and your levels are in the toilet, then it will make sense to speak with a telemedicine clinic, male hormone clinic, and potentially get on TRT, right? And they would evaluate that. But it's very rare that I or the doc that is on my team that we tell people, hey, it will be time to speak with a doc about it, because we're so effective naturally boosting those T levels that, again, it's very, very rare. Like it's probably 1 to 2 out of 100 clients that we tell, hey, it will make sense to go there, which is pretty low. So going back to the question, now that we understand the process and the decision making there. And I wanted to share that because, again, as you said, some people just like, all right, let's put you on TRT. And I'm not against it, but maybe you don't need it. So why would you go on it? Or maybe you need it in 10, 15 years, but not now. So going back to the pillars, sleep is the biggest one, like by far. You can have a good diet, take all the supplements, lose weight. If your sleep is not great, your testosterone will just tank. Just 1 night of poor sleep lowers it by 10%. Can you imagine months and years of sleep deprivation?
Yeah.
So I don't know how deep you want to go, and we can go deeper into sleep as the podcast goes on, but I'll just leave it there. Sleep and sleep quality, especially REM sleep, that's in the later stages of the night. That's where most of your testosterone is produced. Second one is diet quality, specifically addressing mineral deficiencies. So magnesium, zinc, boron, they will all have an impact as they're micronutrients that are cofactors to produce testosterone. Vitamin D3, another one there. You get that from sun, but in most cases, people need to supplement it. So that would be number 2. Number 3 is losing body fat. As Brian said, if you're overweight, then your fat cells, enzyme that's called aromatase, and that converts testosterone into estrogen. And you're going to have more mood swings, just be more emotional, easier triggered, feel more depressed, anxious. Those are very real things. So I almost feel like when you think of testosterone, everyone's like, oh, sex drive, muscle, but the mental health aspects of it are huge, like enormous. So that's number 2 and number 3, minerals or micronutrients, and then body fat. Number 4, cortisol. So if you're stressed and your body's in a fight or flight scenario, then I'm not saying one day of stress, but chronic stress, high levels of cortisol, chronic stress, which is not uncommon as, businessmen, then what's going to happen is your body will not prioritize or give a lot of importance to reproduction. Why? Well, if your body thinks, hey, this guy's going to die, why would it prioritize reproduction? Makes no sense. You can't really reproduce if you're like fight or flight mode. So those are like the key 4. And then 5 would be like environmental things like microplastics, just like xenoestrogens, cosmetic products, stuff like that. BPA that you have like in plastic bottles or underwear, they will make an impact. But I've not found that they're huge. They can make an impact, but not huge. Resistance training as well, but not found, like when I look at blood work, yeah, there's some studies that show it, but I've not found that it makes a huge difference. It doesn't mean you shouldn't lift weights. Of course you should, but it's not, if you lift weights, you're going to double and triple it. It's really sleep, stress, nutrient deficiencies and body fat loss that are the biggest drivers to boost T levels here. And again, if you've done that, if your sleep is great and if your diet is great, you're managing stress well, and you're lean, and you don't have like tons of plastics and all that stuff, and your T levels are still in the toilet, then yeah, it will make sense to go down the medical route, TRT route, and go from there.
Yeah, it says so much about the business lifestyle, the business owner lifestyle. I see in some of the Facebook groups that I'm in, it's like people will actually brag about how poor they sleep. It's taken such a toll on their body. And you talked about working out. I think that a lot of people, they don't get into working out, or they won't commit to it because they think, I've got to work out 5, 6, 7 times a week. But you are big on working out 3 times per week for 45 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes. And that doesn't sound like a lot. And that's all that I do. And when I say working out, I'm talking about lifting weights. Of course, I walk every day, which, I think that it's safe to say that you believe that walking is the superior exercise for weight loss. So if you would, talk to us a little bit about your thoughts on those 2 things, the working out 3 times per week only and the walking.
When you're in the fat loss phase, the number 1 rule I have is appetite management. If you're hungry all the time and you're starving, it's a matter of willpower and discipline to lose weight or lose body fat. And when the equation is built on discipline and willpower, what's going to happen is that's like holding your breath on the water. You can be really disciplined, really hard. Eventually, you got to go up and get air. The moment you get up and get air, that's the moment where, the moment you open your mouth, it's like literally weight loss scenario is the moment those calories go back in. And the weight's just going to bounce back. And usually it's like you get a lot of air because you've been so suppressed and then all the effort is gone. So what if we build an equation that doesn't require that much discipline, that much willpower? Sure, those are important. And I'm not saying you don't need them, but they shouldn't be like the number one thing. Where if you have good systems in place and can work in favor of your hormones, then you don't need to rely on those. And that's what we do. So every decision we made during the fat loss phase is we ask ourselves, hey, if we integrate this, if we make this change, does that spike the client's appetite? And if the answer is yes, let's find another way to make it work or remove it. If the answer is no, great, let's go ahead and integrate it. Working out 3 days a week is enough to stimulate muscle growth, but not too much that one will leave you hungry all the time. Because if you're training every day, you're going to be hungry. You're going to be tired. So you want more food. And now it's really hard to be in a deficit. That's like one of the biggest reasons. Number two is recovery. Most guys who are over 40, unless they're on gear, it's really hard for them to recover from more than 4 days. 4 is okay. But again, you would run potentially the appetite equation. But if not, 4 would be fine if you recover. But like 5-6 days, like it's really hard. Cortisol will be up, gonna have sleep issues, testosterone down. It's really tough for most guys to recover from that. And number 3, most men that come to me, they don't want to be living at the gym or become a gym rat. Even if they have a home gym, they're like, dude, I want to be in and out fast and I want to get quick results, good results. I've got other things to do. Kids, wife, business, travel. If I have to work out every day, like I can do that a month too, but then I'm going to drop the ball, right? And those are like the 3 reasons why I've created the system the way it is with 3 to 4 workouts a week, short, low volume, high intensity, and it works. Number 2, to your question for the walking, same thing. I've had a client, he was walking the treadmill at the gym, and then there was a guy that came to him and said, hey man, I see you walking all the time here and it's not very effective. You should be running full speed as fast as you can. You're going to burn way more calories. So it was like his first week in the program. I think he was walking before as well because he read my post. So he came to me and he's like, hey man, like that guy said that. What do you think? Is he right? Should I be running more? I'm like, look, that guy is technically right, but he has no idea what it means to getting people success and success at last. Because yeah, running, swimming, biking, those things burn all more calories than walking. Walking is boring. It's not as efficient as the other things. It's slow. But you know what? Walking doesn't make you hungry. The other day I went for a swim, 10, 15 minutes. I was starving. Like I was so hungry. You put yourself in a very vulnerable spot because now you want to overeat. On the other hand, with walking, you could do 15,000 steps, not be hungry. So yeah, it's slow. It's not as efficient as running and all the other stuff, but it doesn't leave you hungry. Because it doesn't leave you hungry, you can do it long term. And it's actually very easy to stick to and not a fat bounce off. Because what's the point of going hard 2-3 months and then relapsing over and over and over again? Versus, okay, you may have not dropped as much weight as usual in 3 months, but the plan is so easy and sustainable that you can just put it on autopilot, run your business to whatever you want, and weight would just melt off, right? So that's pretty much a philosophy behind it.
It explains so much to me why I did CrossFit for 10 years and was overweight, like massively overweight the majority of the time that I was doing that. And I was never able to stick to a diet during that time. And, I was doing CrossFit 5-6 days a week. And on top of that, we were doing a weightlifting program. So we'd go in and do the CrossFit workout and then, take about a 15-minute break and then do some Olympic weightlifting. And I was starving all the time. It made it nearly impossible for me to stick to a diet. All right. So as we wrap up, What's like one piece of super actionable advice that you would give somebody if they're listening to us and they're saying, man, I relate to a lot of what they're talking about, either with being overweight or just, tired all the time or whatever. Like, what's one piece of actionable advice that you would say, start here, go do this?
Yeah, I'm going to give two, but I would say start with the blood work. That's like the wake-up call most people need. A lot of times I hear like, oh, I'm just a little bit overweight, but I'm healthy. And then the blood work comes back, pre-diabetic, autoimmune disease, low testosterone, fatty liver. It's like, wow, that's what 30 pounds extra do to your body?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's number one, the right type of blood work, of course, not the one that just cholesterol and sugar that you get the early test, but like real extensive one. Number two is backcycle your carbs. So start your day with protein and fats and move on. So let's say breakfast, that would be protein and fats, can be an egg omelet, ground turkey, Greek yogurt. And then lunch, we'd have a little bit of protein and veggies, grilled veggies, a salad, a chicken salad, some beef, salmon, whatever. And then dinner, you can have, again, a little bit of protein and the carbs, so like rice, potatoes, fruits, and so on. The reason that framework works so well is because you're going to keep your blood sugar level stable. So most programs advise you to start off your day with oatmeal and a glass of orange juice, or maybe drive to Starbucks and get a croissant. And all those things, what they do is because of the carbs in the morning, they're going to spike your sugar. And now you're going to be on a blood sugar roller coaster the entire day. And you're in a spot where you're snacking and hungry all the time. If you save the carbs later in the day, you're going to have very stable levels of sugar and therefore no hunger, no cravings, and very, very high levels of energy, which will spill over or impact the bottom line of your business. When you're focused, you have no energy dips, you don't have to nap after lunch. And because you're not hungry, no cravings, it's very easy to eat less naturally, have high energy, peak performance. So you get the good out of both worlds. Very high energy, mental performance. And number two, your waistline will start to shrink when you're not going to be hungry and therefore eat less naturally and not, again, by force.
Awesome. All right. So if somebody, the name of the program that you run is Six Pack CEO. And if somebody wanted to find out more about that, what is the best way for them to do that?
So you can either reach out to Brian or to me. Reach out to Brian, he can make an introduction, or reach out to me, Instagram, Facebook. Or if you want to go to our website, sixpackceo.com, six, so letter 6, pack, CEO.com, and all the information is there. We also have a female program, the Sculpt the Queen. So if you want to have more info around that, again, reach out to Brian or me, and we can provide you with the info there if you're a woman that wants to get back in shape.
I know that there's certain times of the year that you'll offer the blood work and the analysis of it. Is that something that you're doing right now if people wanted to do that?
So it was our Black Friday offer last year, and it went really, really well. Usually we have it like for referrals only. But so in your case, because you're doing the podcast and you're sharing this to your group, it will be via you. So absolutely. That's like a good way to test drive the system, get blood work done. We do the consult, put together a plan for you. And then you can decide if you want to implement the plan on your own, or if you want us to help you with the implementation of the plan, the coaching, the accountability, and many more things there. But yeah, absolutely. That would be a very good way to start and see what's going on, right?
And, to our listeners, both in the Facebook group that are listening live and to the ones who are going to be listening to the podcast, that we don't really, get promotional about things. But this is one of those things that I have had such great results from working with Mauro and his team throughout 2024. I'm just going to put it out there. If you're looking to get your health, where it needs to be, I highly recommend, these people. And, like you said, the blood work is a good place to just start, because whether you decide to work with him in a coaching capacity or not, that will give you some really valuable information to be able to get started without beating your head against the wall because you're trying to lose weight and you don't understand why. and there is a hormonal issue there that's keeping you from being able to do it. So look, thank y'all for listening in this week. If you throw any questions that you might have into the comments of the video, I put Mauro in the Facebook group for, the period of time. So if you've got any questions, feel free to ask those there and we'll get you some answers. If you're listening to the podcast and you have any questions, you can email podcast@shopmarketingpros.com and I'll make sure to get those answers for you. Or better yet, go follow Mauro on social media. On Facebook is Mauro Stara. So MauraStara. For those of you on the podcast, you know that we are just one of a handful of podcasts on the Aftermarket Radio Network. You can find the others at aftermarketradionetwork.com. I want to thank our sponsors again, RepairPal and AppFueled. I hope that you'll listen in again next week. And until then, go fill those bays.
You've been listening to the Auto Repair Marketing Podcast with Kim and Brian Walker. Follow the podcast on your favorite listening app. Find their emails in the show notes and visit them at shopmarketingpros.com. Let Kim and Brian know what you want discussed because they're all about advancing the aftermarket.